Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast, where we explore the art of intentional living. Whether you're navigating life as a working parent, a professional leader, or just trying to find more meaning in your everyday, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, and today we're diving into 3 ways to create balance and calm amidst chaos. So cultivating hygge in your life, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what hygge is, if you don't know. We're also going to talk about work hacks and life hacks to balance out the chaos. And so you have a more balanced routine and you feel more organized and efficient. Hopefully by the end of this podcast, you will feel that way. So let's just jump in. If you're ready to slow down and embrace the beauty of an intentional lifestyle, let's get started. So this first part, I wanted to talk about cultivating hygge and what hygge is in your everyday life. So hygge, it is a Danish term. I came across this about a year ago, and I was really excited when I realized this is what I'm always wanting in my life all the time. Last year, my word was joy. I was wanting to have joy and seek joy and find joy in everything that I did every day. And if I could find something joyful each day, then I felt like I'd accomplished my goal for the year. But this year, my focus is hygge. And so hygge it means cozy. Things that make you cozy are hygge. If you want to chill out and sit on the couch and have blankets that are soft and warm and candles all around you and nice, calm music and maybe a fire in the fireplace if you have one or one on the TV if you like those, then that's hygge. It's just a mindset, a sense of being, and you can really feel hygge when you incorporate those pieces into your home, office, in your lifestyle. So everything from a cozy sweater or scarf to soft blankets and cozy candles and atmosphere are just a couple of ways that you can create that at home or at work. So as someone that wears many hats, I'm a mom of triplet boys. I'm a principal in a middle school. So yeah, I'm also a wife. My life is hectic. But I've learned to weave in those small comforts in my busy days where I can have just a moment of peace, a moment of hygge, and that makes me hygge. So cozy spaces are definitely my thing right now. We've just been in our log cabin that we built for about 3 years, moved in this time last year, right before Christmas. And so now we've been in our house for a year. And it is everything and more that we ever dreamed and hoped for. But I still need to decorate it a little bit. If you've ever moved into a new build, there's always things to do. At least in my experience, I've got to kind of go room by room. And so right now, my cozy space is the living room. I'm in my pantry right now. I love my pantry. It's a space for me to have all my things around me that I love, all my glassware and my knickknacks and things. But I also love my kitchen and I love my living room. Those are my 3 cozy spaces. Candles are a must. I love my candles. I love those fall scents and winter scents. Just natural smells. I do like pumpkin, as long as it's not overpowering. I like vanilla. I like lavender. I like cinnamon. And so when I can find a pumpkin cinnamon candle that is the right balance, that's one of my favorites. And I love the twinkle lights on the tree. We have the fairy lights that you can get and you can put on your mantle or in your bedroom, your office, if you have an office. So I love those warm glowing lights. They do wonders to make that space inviting wherever you work and live. I also I live on a farm. We do have cattle, but we partner with a neighbor down the road who takes hay off of our land 3 to 4 times a year in return to keep his cattle on our land. And he also takes care of the brush hogging or bush hogging, as we call it around here in Middle Tennessee. And then he also mends fences for us. So it's great. But it's like being a farmer without doing the work. So, I can look out my window and see cows and all the wildlife that's around us. We have bobcats on the property. There's at least 2 bobcats on the property. I'm sure there's raccoon because we've seen their paw prints on my car. There are lots of hawks, all kinds of birds, deer, and it's just so nice to see the wildlife when you go on a walk on the property. I like to forage, definitely in the wintertime, in the fall, in the spring, to bring in the outdoors into my house and decorate with greenery and flowers or pine cones or whatever I can find. So I definitely like to forage and fill those vases with whatever is in season. I like that rustic look. So, it doesn't have to always be green and in bloom either. And also just being intentional about relaxing. That's what brings me hygge the most, is when I don't have a full day of activities. I might have one activity on my schedule for that day on the weekend. Weekends are my time. I am all in at work. I am focused at work Monday through Friday. And then when I get home in the evening and the weekends are my time for myself and for my family. And so I really like to have that intentional relaxation where I'm commuting in the car to and from work. I love listening to podcasts. And so that's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm called to create this podcast for anybody like me out there who's interested in self-care and ways to kind of work on that work-life balance. It doesn't always have to be equal, and it's not always going to be balanced, but I think you can find moments of balance in your life. And I definitely want to talk more about that throughout this podcast. So that hygge hack is creating that comfort. If you have a space or a basket or a bowl or somewhere you can put things that bring you hygge, if you can make a space in a basket or something to hold comfortable blankets and comfortable socks and candles and things to kind of keep everything together, then that will help remind you to light that candle and have a little downtime either at night or on the weekends. And maybe a little time to pause and recharge. So the next section, my next segment is going to be about how to bring in that mindset of hygge into your work so you're cozy but also productive, so you stay organized and efficient, because that's what helps me feel some hygge. I need to have a calm work space and a calm work day. And so in order to make that happen, I've figured out a few strategies that help me with those work hacks. I've definitely had to master the art of staying organized and also juggling countless responsibilities. And every day is going to look different. And the work is never done. I had to learn that pretty early on in my first few years as an administrator, that your desk is never going to be completely cleared off. The work's always going to be there waiting for you. The work, it's never going to go away. It's never going to be done. But if you can space it out, so each day you chunk out your activities, you have a clear, organized calendar, and you streamline your communication, that will help. And you can also hopefully spend time delegating and automating some of that work. And so I'll talk more about each of those steps that I've taken in this segment on work tips for a little hygge and balance in your workday schedule. So work tip 1, clear communication structures. This is something that I've figured out I know what my schedule needs to look like Monday through Friday and then on the weekend. And I went into this school year with a purpose of not using my weekend for work more than maybe an hour or two tops. I didn't want to spend more than 2 hours on work on the weekend. So that way it freed up the majority of my weekend to spend with my, time on myself, to relax, and also time for my family. And I've learned over the years that I'm a better mom and I'm a better wife if I have more of that time to myself and time to relax on the weekend. So I really make a habit of not working after hours when I get home, because I have such a, pretty long commute, an hour one way. So I really, while I maximize my time in the car, I also make sure when I get home that I don't have anything to do on the computer, so I can be present and focused for my family. And so having that clear communication structure during my daily work week really helps me take care of those to-dos during the workday instead of having to do it after hours. And so I've really streamlined what my ideal work week needs to look like, and I've kept pretty close to it. I keep my email updates for staff at a minimum. We really try to keep it to a newsletter that's weekly. So it's once a week that goes out. Everything's in that newsletter. If there's any updates that need to go out, they're really small bits of information that are timely and something that we weren't either able to get into the newsletter or something that's come up that needs immediate attention. And so those are, it's short, it's actionable, and it's focused. Those are emails that kind of think of it as like you have your bite, your snack, and your meal. And so those emails are bites, and my newsletter that goes out on Sunday evenings, are the meal for the week. And so I really try to keep it the rest of the week to really small bits of information as needed. Scheduling those times where I need to take care of evaluations throughout the year or conferences with staff for coaching, one-on-one check-ins with my team. Those have been game changers, and my team knows that certain types of meetings happen on certain days of the week. And so we have team meetings on Monday mornings with the office team. Then we know that we also have our grade level team meetings on Tuesdays. And then they have their collaborative time on Thursdays. And then we have the other 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, and some Thursdays scheduled out for any of those other required meetings. So we have all of that mapped out. So everybody knows which day of the week we're going to do what. And we really try to stick to that, because it can get a little crazy with everybody's schedules overlapping if we're not careful. And so having that clear communication structure for meetings and information to be shared is helpful. And it keeps me grounded, because I know what I should be doing on each day based on my calendar. I know my calendar is already laid out pretty clearly about what I'm doing every day, what type of meetings I'm in, who I'm meeting with, what the purpose is for the meetings. Like, all of that is pretty systematic, and it's organized pretty well for each week. There are times like right before a holiday where I need to space out time a little bit more, because it can get crazy, especially when student behavior might have a little bit more going on right before a holiday. I need to have more time where I'm with kids and I'm out in the hallways and I'm visible. And so I really try to make sure that my calendar is blocked off for that information. And so that's my tip number 2, time blocking for focus. I want to make sure that I'm out in the halls every morning for at least a half hour to 45 minutes at the beginning of the day. So everybody sees me during transitions. They see me at every bell change. I'm in that space, and I have a desk that is on wheels that I use. So I'm not in my office when I'm in meetings or when I'm not in the hallway. I've got all my stuff on a rolling desk, and I'm moving between hallways and classrooms and making myself visible, but I do like to be in a central location during class changes. So kids see me, adults see me, they know I'm in the building. It sets that tone, and that's huge for just making sure that I'm approachable and I'm visible. But with that schedule, thinking of your schedule, I've got that time block. And so I'm also making sure that I know those specific blocks of time are going to be set aside for those particular meetings based on that structure I spoke about in that first segment for work tips. And so thinking about when I'm going to do paperwork, that's really what I do when I'm out in the hallway on my rolling desk. I'm taking care of those emails that need attention, need my electronic signature. They need me to review something. I need to do timesheets, like all those little tedious things. That's what I'm doing when I'm out on my rolling desk in the hallway. So after kids have transitioned to class, then I take care of some of that paperwork. I'm visible, so somebody, if our maintenance guys are walking down the hall and they need to check in with me about something, they see me. They don't have to look for me. I can take care of my paperwork and then check in with them and then head into a classroom and do some observations or redirect kids based on behavior and whatnot. So that helps me stay on task without feeling overwhelmed because I'm not in my office, but I'm still getting work done and I'm still being visible. It's like multitasking. And definitely something that I've had to learn to do because I'm a little ADHD. So if I'm not careful, I'm going to be all over the place and I really need to be grounded on, okay, these are the things I need to get done today. If I can get, I'd like to think about 3 things. Those are my big 3. And so if I can think of all the things I need to get done the day before and write them all down, and then I narrow it down to, if I can get these 3 things done tomorrow, then I'm going to be doing pretty good. And then that way I don't feel overwhelmed and I don't feel defeated if I don't get everything on my list done and I get those big 3 done. So that is definitely helpful. Having a really clear schedule, really clear time blocks of when I'm getting what tasks done, and also making sure that I'm communicating with my team. And that's definitely taken a minute because I was in a new building this year as a principal of a middle school. So new principal in this building, having to get to know my team. The team has to get to know me and what my priorities are. They know when not to interrupt me, when I'm supposed to be in classrooms, like don't, unless the building is burning and bleeding. And that is the time where I need to be left alone so I can focus in on teachers and what they're teaching and what students are learning. And so that's like a priority. So really prioritizing my time, having that blocked off time on my schedule, but also being clear and communicating about what I am doing and where I am has definitely been helpful. And then the third work tip that has really worked for me this fall is delegating and automating. Everything I can do to delegate to my team, I do. I don't have to do it all. And that was something I had to learn as well, being a new principal. I felt like I had to do it all. I had to model it all. If it wasn't done by me, it wouldn't be done right. And that is a quick way to burn out. So I had to delegate. And I'm still learning a little bit here and there about who I can trust because I'm in a new building with a new team, who I can trust with this task and who I can trust with that task and who needs more modeling and coaching and who just needs to know a couple of things and then they run with it. And then I just need to check in and verify that it's being done well. So I've figured out, how to make that work more successfully this fall. And I think I should be able to run right as soon as I hit the ground back in the building next week in January through the rest of the year. So I'm excited about that. I feel like we've got our team in place and it's a well-oiled machine now. I feel like we've gotten to know each other this fall and now we should be able to fly, essentially. But delegating is definitely something I've learned to do and I definitely have to continue doing so I can have that yuga at night when I get home and on the weekends. And then automating. If I can automate a task, I'm going to do it. So as much as I can draft ahead of time, and I do use ChatGPT in a lot of my newsletter drafting. When I draft out segments in my newsletter for parents and families, I'll use ChatGPT just to kind of focus in on what I want to say. And then I have it ready and drafted. And then I automate that timing of when I want to send it out. So having that plan for a draft, what I want to say, already blocked out my time for my newsletter of how much time I'm going to spend on it, no more than 2 hours on the weekend, right? So I want to get time in on the weekend to draft out my newsletter and make sure for teachers and staff and also parents and families. And so both of those communications are something that I'm using ChatGPT for, just to help me automate some of that messaging, but then also putting my spin on it and then making sure that I have it time released to go out at a certain time, either Sunday evening or Monday morning, depending on which newsletter it is. And also just other tools out there. There's so many automated tools and reminders you can use on your calendar, your Google Classroom. There are ways that you can use your phone to remind you to set a time limit of how much time you're going to spend on whatever task. And so I'm learning to use more and more of my technology to help me and automate my tasks. So I'm not spending so much time micromanaging every little thing. And I'm meeting my deadlines and I'm setting up those reminders so I do meet those deadlines, and then I can still have time to collaborate with my team and just, create that time for Huga in my life. And that has definitely helped me breathe a little bit more this fall. And I really also, just one bonus work tip is to get comfortable shoes. I've invested in comfortable footwear, and that physical comfort of my feet directly impacts my energy level and productivity. And so my go-to shoes are Rothy's and Clark's. I've definitely invested in those two brands. I love them. And I definitely feel like they're worth the money because they've helped my feet tremendously. I've also used Uggs on those days where you can be comfy. That's a definite way of being Huga for your feet too. All right. So this will be the final segment. Some of my life strategies for a work-life balance. So finally, I want to talk about my life strategies for a work-life balance. It's not about doing it all. It's about doing what matters most with that intention. And so my first strategy for that work-life balance for me, that works for me, is having that morning ritual for grounding. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, and that time allows me to get up, take a shower, get ready for the day, and then, make my way into the kitchen and start prepping my lunch for the day, which is a shake and with protein in it and collagen. And then I'm also making coffee and reviewing my goals that I set for the day and just making sure that I'm setting a positive intention for the day. And so this year, starting, this is January 2nd that I'm recording this podcast. It's going to be going out next week on Tuesday, January 7th. And so my focus for this year is Huga. And so I'm going to be thinking about a way to set a positive tone for the day and invite more Huga in. And so I want to have that grounding ritual where I spend time really just in silence, and I'm going to light a candle, and I'm going to have that scent that I love, maybe that pumpkin, cinnamon right now. And then I'm going to do a little stretching and look through my journal, think about my day and how I'm going to make it positive and invite Huga in for the day. And that's going to be something that I do every day. My second life hack for Huga is also making sure that I don't have to think about my meals every day of the week. And so I like to prep on Sundays, but I don't I'm not prepping all these meals. I'm thinking, I need to have a shake every day of the week. And so I set up my 5, um, like meals, which are shakes for lunch, on Sundays. And so I just use frozen fruit and collagen powder and um and I buy a big green juice from the grocery store, and that's what I make for my smoothies every day of the week. And I've gotten those meal preps where you can order those healthy smoothies and they come in a cup and you just throw them in the blender. But I felt like I was spending so much money on those and I wasn't really sure exactly what was in them all the time, the powders and the juices and all of that were frozen. And so I decided I could just make these myself. And there was only like one flavor that I had a hard time recreating, but I finally figured out the recipe. And so I have figured out how to prep my healthy meals for the week, and it keeps my diet on track and reduces decision fatigue. And that is huge for me. That helps me have Huga every day. So that shake for lunch, a balanced dinner, avoids inflammatory foods, and it's helped me feel more energized. So my last strategy that I want to share with you is having that emotional resilience through journaling. So journaling, it's huge. So my third and final hack for that balanced lifestyle. So that third and final hack that I want to share with you is a strategy that I use pretty regularly. I wouldn't say every day, but the more I do it, the better I feel, is journaling. I keep multiple journals. I have one for tracking my health and wellness. I have another one for work goals and a fun journal for creative expression. And I probably have so many more than that, but those are the 3 I can think of right now. I love to reflect. I love to write down my manifestations, like what I desire. I'm in a 21-day manifestation challenge right now for the new year, and I like to write everything down and then track what comes true. And I really have to say that everything that I have been purposeful about has come to fruition. So it helps me stay grounded and motivated and keeps me thinking about what I want to focus on for the new year and for months to come. So just one more, some little something that I want to share is how to build in those small, non-negotiable breaks into your day. Just maybe a 5-minute walk or a sip of water, or even just deep breathing exercises can really reset your energy and mindset. I know for me, when I'm at work, I like to get out first thing in the morning, have a lot of FaceTime with kids and teachers and staff, and then I will head back into my office a little bit before lunch duty starts because I'm in the cafeteria for a good portion of the morning into the afternoon because we have like a 2-hour block every day that's for our lunch for kids in the cafeteria. And so I really like to be in there interacting with kids and being present. But just before that time, I like to go into my office, shut the door, and just breathe. And that's when I usually drink my shake that I've brought in for lunch. I throw it into my fridge, and that's what I drink for lunch. And then I head right into the cafeteria. Now, sometimes I bring that into the cafeteria because I'm running late or I'm behind. But if I can shut the door for a few seconds in my office, it's a great time for me to reset. So, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. If you loved this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with 2 people who could use a little extra balance in their lives. And remember, the leader in me sees the leader in you. As you head into this week, let your light shine through.